Hey guys, Mr. Spitzer here. I'm going to break down westward expansion, the Louisiana Purchase, and the Lewis and Clark expedition for you. So let's get started. So what's going on here? Americans are starting to move west. They're going into the areas of what we call today, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio. Those are being admitted as states. People were going into areas near the Mississippi and Ohio rivers. So the Mississippi and Ohio rivers are becoming really monumentally important in the transportation of finished farm goods mostly. They would sail them down the Ohio onto the Mississippi and then down to the port of New Orleans, transfer them to ships that would sail them to other countries for sale. So New Orleans and the Mississippi River are very important to the U.S. economy. So President Jefferson was worried about the possibility of a foreign country closing New Orleans and the Mississippi River to the American farm goods. That had happened under Washington, and it had caused a great disruption to the economy. So Jefferson was very, very concerned about that. So if we go forward here, what he's going to so what we got here, Louisiana Territory, initially it was controlled by Spain. They controlled New Orleans, Louisiana, and pretty much all of the west around the Missouri River to the Rocky Mountains. But at this point, Spain's empire was starting to fall apart, starting to weaken. So they, in a treaty, gave the land to France. At the time, Napoleon was in charge of France. He wanted to build an empire in the New World based on North America. But in 1802, the people of Haiti had rebelled against French rule. And so Napoleon said, forget this. These people are all crazy. I'm just going to get rid of the whole lot. So at this point, he wants to get rid of most of the French holdings in the Caribbean and in North America. At the same time, Jefferson decides, hey, I really need to buy New Orleans so I can keep our economy going. So he sends ambassadors to France, and initially all they want to do is buy New Orleans. Napoleon offers to sell the entire Louisiana Territory to the United States. He says, for $15 million, you can have it all. And so Jefferson agrees, despite the fact that there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can buy land, and Jefferson was a strict interpretationist of the Constitution. He decides that this is too good of a deal to pass up, and as Jefferson does a lot of times in his life, says one thing, does another, and he gets Senate to approve the purchase of Louisiana on October 20th, 1803. This doubles the size of the United States overnight and brings in thousands upon thousands of new acres of land for the United States to explore and then have people settle. So now that he's got all this land, Thomas Jefferson wants to know what the heck is out there. So he gets a couple of guys, one by the name of Meriwether Lewis. Meriwether Lewis was a very good friend of Jefferson's. He was actually Jefferson's personal secretary at the White House. And William Clark, who had commanded Meriwether Lewis back in the military. These two men get 50 skilled dudes, and they leave St. Louis on May 14th, 1804, exploring this new West Territory. You can look at the video, you can read the articles. It talks about all the things they encounter. They encounter native tribes who are hostile. They encounter bears. They encounter wild animals, sickness, near starvation. But a little over a year later, they reach the Pacific Ocean. So in November 1805, they are at the Pacific Ocean. They spend the winter there. And then finally, even though everybody had thought they were dead already, on September 23rd, 1806, so 2 years and a little bit after they had left, they returned to St. Louis to great fanfare. Lewis and Clark published works. They found thousands and thousands of new things, made maps, and really showed America what was out there, and it made Americans excited to go and then move west to make new settlements out there. But honestly, without the participation of Native American tribes, Lewis and Clark would not have survived. If you really want to know, you watch the video; it'll give you a lot of information about the expedition and the trials and tribulations these two men experienced. They used interpreters to communicate with Native American tribes. Native American tribes, in particular the Shoshone, the Nez Perce, gave them food, helped them, and Sacagawea was their main guide and interpreter. And without her, they definitely wouldn't have made it. So that is pretty much the Lewis and Clark expedition. Pretty much broken down here in about 5 minutes. Again, read the articles, watch the video. It'll give you a really good overview. The video is 40 minutes long, but it's a really good overview of what goes on. So that is Lewis and Clark. If you guys have any questions, let me know, but that should break you down on what you need to know about the expedition.